The 10 most evil women in history of the world. It's very common belief that women are the sign of love, care and humbleness. They are generally known to be very polite, graceful, and poised. But actually the history is full of such women that truly changed the way of thinking about women. There were over times many women whose horrors horrified the whole world. There were many most evil women who enjoyed torture, brutality, murders, and abuse for one reason or the other. We always tend to focus on the evil men in the world and forget some of the truly evil women that have lived. However, we'll throw light upon 10 most evil women in the world. Number 10. Irma Grese. Irma Ida Eil Grese was employed at the Nazi concentration camps of Ravensbrück and Auschwitz, and was a warden of the women's section of Bergen-Belsen. She was convicted for crimes against humanity at the Belsen trial and sentenced to death. She loved torture via different painful methods and wore heavy boots as a habit. She also carried a pistol for the facilitation of her various purposes. Grese was the youngest woman to die judicially under English law in the 20th century. On the 13th of December 1945, she was nicknamed the Beast of Belsen, the Beautiful Beast, and Die Hyäne von Auschwitz. Number 9. Myra Hindley. Myra Hindley was an English serial killer. In partnership with Ian Brady, she committed the rapes and murders of 5 small children. Together these two monsters were responsible for the kidnapping, sexual abuse, torture and murder of 3 children under the age of 12 and 2 teenagers, aged 16 and 17. Hindley's 17-year-old brother-in-law tipped her off to the police. Hindley pleaded not guilty to all of the murders. She was found guilty of 3 murders and was jailed for life. She was never released, and died in prison in 2002. Number 8. Isabella of Castile. Isabella the Catholic was Queen of Castile and Leon. She and her husband, Ferdinand II of Aragon, brought stability to the kingdoms that became the basis for the unification of Spain. Isabella and Ferdinand are known for completing the Reconquista, ordering conversion or exile of their Muslim and Jewish subjects and financing Christopher Columbus' 1492 voyage that led to their opening of the New World. Isabella was granted the title Servant of God by the Catholic Church in 1974. Number 7. Beverly Gaylit. The Angel of Death. Beverly Gaylit is an English serial killer, one of the 10 most evil women. She was convicted of murdering 4 children, attempting to murder 3 other children, and causing grievous bodily harm to a further 6 children. The crimes were committed over a period of 59 days between February and April 1991 in the children's ward at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital, Lincolnshire, where Gaylit was employed as a state-enrolled nurse. She administered large doses of insulin to at least 2 victims, and a large air bubble was found in the body of another, but police were unable to establish how all the attacks were carried out. In May 1993, at Nottingham Crown Court, she received 13 life sentences for the crimes. Mr. Justice Latham, sentencing, told Gaylit that she was a serious danger to others and was unlikely ever to be considered safe enough to be released. She is detained at Rampton Secure Hospital in Nottinghamshire. Number 6. Queen Mary I of England. Mary was Queen of England and Ireland from July 1553 until her death. Her brutal persecution of Protestants caused her opponents to give her the sobriquet Bloody Mary. She was the only surviving child born of the ill-fated marriage of Henry VIII and his first wife Catherine of Aragon. Mary is chiefly remembered for temporarily and violently returning England to Catholicism. Many prominent Protestants were executed for their beliefs, leading to the moniker Bloody Mary. Fearing the gallows, a further 800 Protestants left the country, unable to return until her death. Number 5. Belle Gunness. Standing 6 feet tall and weighing over 91 kilograms, a physically strong woman, Belle Gunness was one of America's most degenerate and productive female serial killers. She was an imposing and powerful woman of Norwegian descent. It is likely that she killed both her husbands and all her children at different times, but it is certain that she murdered most of her suitors, boyfriends, and her two daughters, Myrtle and Lucy. The motive was greed, pure and simple. Life insurance policies and assets stolen or swindled from her suitors became her source of income. Most reports put her death toll at more than 20 victims over several decades, with some claiming in excess of 100. Inconsistencies during her post-mortem examination. The corpse was reported to be 2 inches shorter than Belle's 6 feet, paved the way for Belle Gunn to enter American criminal folklore, a female Bluebeard. Number 4. Mary Ann Cotton. Britain's first serial killer, married at age 20 to William Mowbray, the newlyweds settled in Plymouth, Devon, to start their family. The couple had 5 children, 4 of whom died of gastric fever and stomach pains. Moving back to the northeast, tragedy seemed to follow them. 3 more children born. 3 more children died. William soon followed his offspring, dying of an intestinal disorder in January 1865. British Prudential promptly paid a £35 dividend, and a pattern was established. Her second husband, George Ward, died of intestinal problems as well as one of her 2 remaining children. The power of the press, always a force to be reckoned with, caught up with Mary Ann. The local newspapers discovered that as Mary Ann moved around northern England, she lost 3 husbands, a lover, a friend, her mother and a dozen children, all dying of stomach fever. She was hanged at Durham County Jail, March 24, 1873, for murder by arsenic poisoning. She died slowly, the hangman using too short a drop for a clean execution. Number 3. Alkoch. Alkoch, known as Die Hexe von Buchenwald, was the wife of Karl Otto Koch. She was one of the first prominent Nazis to be tried by the US military. Drunk on the absolute power rendered by her husband, she reveled in torture and obscenity. Infamous for her souvenirs, tattoos taken from the murdered inmates, her reputation for debauchery was well earned. After building an indoor sports arena in 1940, with 250,000 marks stolen from inmates, Ilse was promoted to Oberofficerin, or chief overseer of the few female guards at Buchenwald. She committed suicide by hanging herself at a Cup Women's Prison on September 1, 1967. Number 2. Catherine Knight. Born on the 24th of October 1955 and continues to serve lifelong sentence in the prison. Catherine Mary Knight was the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. She had a history of violence in relationships. She mashed the dentures of one of her ex-husbands and slashed the throat of another husband's 8-week-old puppy before his eyes. A heated relationship with John Charles Thomas Price became public knowledge with an apprehended violence order that Price had filed against Knight and ended with Knight stabbing Price to death with a butcher's knife. He had been stabbed at least 37 times, both front and back, with many of the wounds penetrating vital organs. She then skinned him and hung his suit from the door frame in the living room, cut off his head and put it in the soup pot, baked his buttocks, and prepared gravy and vegetables to accompany the roast. The meal and a vindictive note were set out for the children, luckily discovered by police before they arrived home. Number 1. Elizabeth Bathory. Born in 1560 and dying in 1614, Countess Elizabeth Bathory d'Aoust was a countess from the renowned Bathory family of nobility in the Kingdom of Hungary. She has been labeled the most prolific female serial killer in history, although the number of murders is debated, and is remembered as the Blood Countess. She was the infamous serial killer of Hungary. She used to kill peasant girls through severe beatings, burning, mutilation of body parts, chewing off the face, etc. She was on house arrest and was not put to trial because of her status.